Wonderful. I love that Tracy Chapman. Who doesn't, right? So before we get started, well, prior to the beginning of our event, I would like to issue an acknowledgement that the land which we work, live, play, and prey on is the ancestral lands of the indigenous nations that have existed long before the creation of the United States. I live in the state of Florida, which is the rightful indigenous land of the Seminole, Miccosukee, the Creek, Ais, Appalachee, Yamasee, Tumaquah, Tequestra, and the tribe we call Calusa. This is theirs. It is sacred, and it is the duty of every person who occupies this place to respect it and to seek to readdress the foundational injustice which we establish as polity. We also want to acknowledge that the United States, as we know it, which we seek to transform the policy of, has been built on the coerced and unrewarded labor of people of color, enslaved Africans and their descendants, and migrants from Latin America and the Caribbean. The alienation of Native peoples from their land and the people of color from the fruits of their labor is not only a historical tragedy, but an ongoing injustice that we must seek to readdress. The climate crisis, other ecological devastation, and its impact on Indigenous peoples, Black people, and the people of color are merely another manifestation of these ongoing injustices. Therefore, as we conduct our business here today, I implore the participants to place the necessity for restorative justice at the front of their minds. And now, Lee will be sharing a short clip, the story of Rye St. James, The World We Need, and then we'll do introductions for Sharon.
The first time I went to the Mississippi River, I was 6. All I could feel was the fresh air flowing through these giant grasses filled with blackberry vines and white spider lilies. We had everything that you could imagine. We grew fruit and vegetables. Daddy grew and sold sugarcane. We had chickens, we had eggs, we had cows that gave us milk. In 1968, the first chemical plant arrived. My daddy and everyone else welcomed it. They were told the plants would bring jobs and prosperity. It was followed by another chemical factory, then another. They began arriving in a steady stream. As the years went on, I began to notice that my neighbors and members of my community were getting sick and dying of cancer, and the air smelled like chlorine. I started to connect these dots. The plants had been poisoning us for years, and there was little sign of that economic promise. Our home came to be known throughout the country as Cancer Alley. And in 2018, I realized that this was about to get worse. What would I do if I didn't have air to breathe? I was looking for signs. Should I leave or stay and fight? I cried and I prayed. I asked God, should I give up the land and the home you gave me? He said no. I asked, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to fight. I called my neighbors to a meeting at my house. We are going to fight Formosa Plastics until we don't have a single breath left. We organized our neighbors, telling them about the chemicals Formosa would emit. We marched for a whole day from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. We walked, we danced, we lit candles to pay respect to the people who died of cancer. And we drew national attention to our cause. Local and federal politicians joined our fight, building pressure to halt the construction. We will keep Formosa from coming. The strength of our community, that turned out to be the breath that keeps us alive. We'll keep going, and one day we will have clean air to breathe again.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for sharing that for us, Lee. Rise St. James is a faith-based grassroots organization founded by Sharon Lavigne in 2018 that is fighting for environmental justice as it works to defeat the proliferation of photochemical industries in St. James Parish, Louisiana. Nicknamed Cancer Alley, as the video mentioned, for the above average rates of cancer there, the area is home to a high concentration of polluting industry. Despite this, the state has planned to expand this chemical corridor with a dozen more factories. Rice St. James leads Sharon Lavigne, a 2021 Goldman Environmental Prize winner, a 2022 Laetare Medal recipient, and one of Time's the 100 most influential people of 2024, galvanized community opposition and successfully defeated the construction of a 1.25 billion plastic manufacturing plant in 2018. The group is currently fighting to prevent Formosa Plastics from building a massive multi-billion-dollar plastic plant in the parish. And that, it is my honor to turn it over to Sharon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for having me. My name is Sharon Lavigne, and I'm the director and founder of Rise St. James in St. James, Louisiana. We have a slideshow to present to you today. This is a view of our struggle for environmental justice. Next slide. And this is a little bit about me. I'm a native of St. James, Louisiana, born and raised over here, taught school for 38 years. We founded Rise St. James in 2018. And a couple of months ago, we changed our name from Rise St. James to Rise St. James, Louisiana, so we can go out into the other communities and help other frontline leaders with their fights and how to get started, just like we did. Next slide. And these are some of the awards that I received for myself and for Rise St. James. And I couldn't have done it without my group. We have a lot of members in our organization, a lot of fighters. We have 2 members that passed away in 2019. They were one of our leading leaders, and the names are Geraldine Mayhold and Lynn Nicholas. And they were one of the 8 members in the organizations that were here in my den when we first got started. Next slide. This is a picture of me standing in front of the industry called American Styrenics. This is one that makes styrofoam. And whenever we would go on the site across the levee, across the highway on the levee, the security guard would run us off. So I was able to take this picture on a weekend. They don't have as many out there on the weekend. So we got that little snapshot while they weren't noticing. Next slide, please. All right, St. James, 5th District. St. James is in the middle of Cancer Alley. Cancer Alley is an 85-mile stretch between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. And we are in the heart of Cancer Alley, St. James and St. John, the Baptist Parish. And 91.83% Black or African-American residents that live in the 5th District. We are predominantly Black area, low income, and filled with 12 industries within a 10-mile radius. Next slide, please. The struggle for environmental justice in St. James and St. James Parish. We give rise to St. James. Next slide, please. This is the history behind the struggle. The Mississippi River corridor, as you know, it's called Cancer Alley. Just like I said, it's an 85-mile stretch. And I'm going to get to a few other slides to show you the pictures of the storage tanks that's in a 10-mile radius. We have 100 storage tanks within a 10-mile radius. Next slide, please. And this is a picture of some of the industries. And this is a picture of 2 pictures of industries within the 10-mile radius and within St. James and St. John. And we also have some in the 4th District also. In my parish, we have 7 districts. I live in the 5th District where the bulk of the industries are built. Next slide, please. And this is the chemicals that's being released into the area. As you can see, the names of the chemicals that's coming from all the way down from the top to the bottom that's in our areas within the Mississippi River, the corridor. Next slide, please. And these are some of the, no, can you go back to to the other slide right there? These some of the pollution, the chemicals that Formosa emits, and Formosa has a bad track record. They have an industry in Port Comfort, Texas, and Diane Wilson is fighting that one. They won a lawsuit and received $50 million settlement with the Clean Water Act. And they, in 2016, Formosa polluted 125 miles of Vietnam coastline. They right now have people in jail, in prison, for protesting against this industry, Formosa Plastics. Some of them have 20 years, some have 7 years. Some of them are still in jail right now. Some of the mothers had to leave their children, and someone have to raise their children while they are in prison. Next slide, please. These are some of the health risks. If Formosa Plastics would come to St. James, they would pollute our water, our drinking water that comes from the Mississippi River. They would pollute it even more with benzene, ethylene oxide, formaldehyde, and other pollutants. We already overburdened. We already can't breathe the air. We can't drink the water. We can't plant a garden. My soil in my backyard is already toxic with arsenic and lead, so I can't plant a garden. And I know my neighbors can't either. Next slide, please. And to get the word out, we try to educate the public. We have a chemical of the month. We have it, it's on the website. And we also go to the radio station in New Orleans, WBOK, to talk about the chemical of the month. Every month we would go out there and let the public hear what we have to say and how the chemical is impacting our lives, how people are coming down with cancer, asthma, and other illnesses. So we try to educate the public through the chemical of the month. And we also have the RISE University that we do every 3 quarters. And that's educational also. We have people to come on and teach the class for us for 1 hour on a Tuesday night. Next slide, please. And this is one of our billboards that we placed up in St. James next to the Sunshine Bridge, telling Formosa, let the doorknob hit you where you know where. And we asked our parish council members, we have 7 parish council members, not to issue them the permit to build. They ignored our plea and they voted for them to come into St. James and to build, even though we're overburdened with 12 industries within a 10-mile radius. They disregard us. So our sign, the billboard said, stop Formosa. St. James Parish Council can save our lives. They won't listen to us. They listen to Formosa. Next slide, please. St. James, a labor of love and faith. Next slide, please. This is me, as you can see. I was in my home after Hurricane Ida, and everything was devastated. And I'm at work. I work every day. I have work to do to try to fight this $12 billion, 12.4. At first it was 9.4, now it's $12.4 billion industry. Still trying to come into St. James. We went to court. Judge Trudy White told them to vacate the premises because this was environmental injustice and this was racism. They come into the predominantly Black communities thinking that they can just walk in here and do what they want and give the community a little trinkets. But Judge Trudy White voted in our favor. They appealed it. We went to court in November of last year with a 3-panel judge. 2 voted against us and 1 voted for us. We went back to court in December of last year. We had a 5-panel judge. They voted 1 voted for us and 4 voted against us. They voted for the industry to come in, even though we're telling everybody that we're overburdened. We are being poisoned. We are getting sick. My community is dying. People are asking for help. They want to live and they want to breathe clean air. But we are appealing those judges' decisions as I speak. Next slide, please. These are the members that's still alive that started with me in my den in October of 2018. They are Beverly, myself, Milton, my brother, Chastity, and Shamel, my daughter. Those are the 5 that's still active, and we have other members, but these are the ones that initial meeting that we had. We were all riled up and ready to fight after we found out about Formosa, and we found out that the other organization that I was in said we couldn't fight it. So they wouldn't fight it, so we started our own organization, and we've been fighting ever since 2018, and Formosa is not here, and it's not coming. Next slide, please. This is our campaign for this fighting, for this fight that we have. This is a shift the narrative within St. James Parish in the state of Louisiana. We're telling these polluters that they are not welcome here, they're not coming in here, and they're not using us to make profit. Next slide, please. When we first started, we appealed the Formosa decision. That's one of the pictures when we had our first march on November 3rd, 2018. And we marched there. We couldn't march on the highway. So they told us it was okay if we march on the sidewalk. And we said, okay, yes, we thought it was something good. Come to find out, we can march on the highway. They can't tell that to us today. And the other pictures, when we were in the courthouse, the courtroom, at the parish council meeting, and we talked to them, trying to appeal it, but they wouldn't listen to us. They still voted for Formosa to come in. Next slide, please. This is, we call out onto the clergy. Father Vincent Dufresne from St. Michael's Church in St. James. He's with us when we first started. We went to him and asked for a meeting with him, and he expressed his concern about Formosa wanting to come into St. John the Baptist Parish way back in the 1990s. And he is on board with us to help us. He helped us to get the ministers to come on the Formosa site where there's a grave site of our ancestors. Bishop Duga was there, the bishop from Baton Rouge, he was there. And we had a church service, a ceremony, we sang, and the ministers came out. And that was so wonderful just to see them out there. Reverend Samuel Jones was out there. Father Matthew from St. James Catholic Church was out there, and a whole lot of other ministers. I can't name all of them, but we had a whole slew of ministers. They are with us to help us to try to stop this industry from coming, and especially from building on the graves of our ancestors. Next slide, please. These are the graves. These are the fallen, and behind them you can see the storage tanks. And the next slide is going to show you a picture of the storage tanks. Just like I said, we have 100 within a 10-mile radius. Next slide, please. As you can see, it's an aerial view of all the storage tanks in St. James in the 5th district. And we didn't know we had that many. We didn't have any idea that all of these storage tanks were here and what they were storing. Oil, gas, and we were mind-boggled to know that we were living in an area with all such pollution. And we didn't know why we were having so many funerals every week. But we know now we are being poisoned, literally being poisoned. Next slide, please. We went to DC to ask President Biden to declare this a climate emergency because people are dying. We did everything that we could think of. We prayed, we sang, we did the Jericho March, we did everything we could think of. We went to President Biden. Still haven't stopped it, still haven't declared this a climate emergency. If you don't, we won't have anybody to live here. If Formosa Plastic comes, we will not be able to live. So it's like a death sentence. Next slide, please. This is the beginning back in November 3rd, 2018. People came out to support us. The community were out there with us. People from Baton Rouge, different areas. From New Orleans, they came out to support us. Next slide, please. This is when Administrator Michael Regan came to St. James to visit, to see for himself what we're living in, what we're going through. He spoke to the residents in Birdland, and they expressed to him what's going on. And I could see in his eyes, he really felt for us, and he's trying to help us. He's trying to change the laws so we can have a better life. Because we shouldn't have to live like this. And he's right there in Birdland. Birdland is sandwiched in by two industries, New Star and Marathon. Chapmantown is sandwiched in by Argonne and New Star. Sometime Argonne let out natural gas. People in that community smelling the gas, and they come to us and tell us they need help. Next slide, please. The progress report. This is 2019 Texas judge found Formosa Plastics a serial offender. And this is 2019 Formosa ordered to pay $50 million in a settlement. And November 2020, Formosa Plastic permits are suspended by Army Corps. 2021, Army Corps called for a full environmental impact statement. Next slide, please. Victory is ours. On that first march that we had, we sang victory is ours, because victory is ours. And that's our theme song. And we will win, because we are not going to give up. And we said Formosa will not be built in St. James Parish, not 2 miles from my home. Next slide, please. We had victory with Wanwan. It was a chemical plant from China. They wanted to be built in St. James on the East Bank. We marched. We went to the parish council. We pleaded with them, sent letters to them, and we did everything we could think of. And this man packed up and left. That was our first victory with Wanwan. Next slide, please. Victory with South Louisiana Methanol. They had been trying to build in here for a long time, years. They didn't have the funding. So 10 years later, they got funding. They sent it to the Army Corps of Engineers. The Army Corps of Engineers told them to go back and get a new permit. They pulled out. After we started fighting against them and told them they would not be built here also. And they wanted to be built right next to our park in the 5th district. And we lobbied against them. And we told them no. And we did the march back in 2019. And they heard us and they pulled out. Next slide, please. Victory, September 2022, Judge Trudy White vacated Formosa's air permit. That was a victory. We were so happy. And you know, as I said before, they appealed it. LDEQ, Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, is on board with Formosa, not with the residents of this area. Next slide, please. The fight won't end until we have clean air, clean water, and clean soil. That's right. The fight is not over, and we're not going to stop fighting until we can breathe clean air and drink clean water. Next slide, please. Back in 2021, Hurricane Ida came and devastated my home. This is the picture of my home the next day after the hurricane. And I was living in a travel trailer for a long time. I stayed out of my home for 2 years. Couldn't get a contractor. They were all booked. So, but I'm back on track. Next slide, please. This is some of the people that came from New Orleans to help us to distribute items to the community. And they came from near and far, bought supplies, and we helped the community to help them get back on their feet, because a lot of people were devastated. A lot of homes have tarps on it. Some people still haven't finished their homes yet because they don't have the funding. And so we're trying to get help also for them also. Next slide, please. We had a visit from John Legend. He came to my home on August the 5th of this year, and he collaborated with us. We brought him for a tour, and he was wonderful. He met some of my family members, and he said he'll be back to help with us, and he's going to see what he can do to help us. And we appreciate him taking out his time to come to see what we're going through in St. James, especially in the 5th District. Next slide, please. We would like for you to, if you don't mind, to click on the QR code to ask President Biden to provoke Formosa's plastic permit. That would be a big help because we need as many people to do that for us. And because, like we said, enough is enough, and we can't take anymore, and we're not going to take anymore. Next slide, please. We target Citibank to ask them not to invest in Formosa Plastics. We spoke in New Jersey last Friday of last week, and we went to the Formosa site to see if they would listen to us. Some of the members of our coalition was chained to the fence so the workers couldn't get in. 4 of our members were arrested. And we also spoke in a church in Newark. It was a Baptist church, and the pastor's name was Reverend Tuff. And he's with Green Faith, and he said he's going to help us also. And the fight is on. We're going to fight. We're not going to stop because this is our home, and we said no more. No more. We're already being poisoned. One of our members, Melvin, he's fighting colon cancer. He just found out in January that he has colon cancer. My friend Jean, my classmate and my friend, my church member, she has liver cancer. She's hanging on. We're praying for her. So many other people have cancer. Women have breast cancer. Women become pregnant. They have miscarriages. Then they have preemies. So we're fighting for our lives. This is not a joke, people. We need help. We need President Biden to declare a climate emergency in St. James, where we live. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We appreciate all your hard work on this. It's been, what you've done has been amazing. So before we get into the questions, if you have questions, please take the time now to drop them in the chat. And I do see somebody has their hand raised. Give us just 1 minute, please. We're going to go ahead and now share another action. And please don't fret. You will get an email, a follow-up email, and I'll have the links and other ways that you can share that Sharon shared in her presentation. So if we can go ahead and share that action that people can take, it'll only take a few minutes, and then we'll get into questions and answers. Okay? Thank you. All right, so whoever is sharing that action, that would be great.
I believe Karina shared it in the chat.
Okay.
So for folks, who want to take action right now, there's a link in the chat. Click on the link, and this will be sending emails to Citibank's top executives to basically demand that Citi denounces, divests, and defunds Formosa Plastics in St. James.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm completely missed that. Yes, thank you so much for that. So just take a minute or two to click on that link and send a letter, and then we will get into questions and answers, or question and answers. Thank you. Okay, it took me less than a second to do that. I just signed on. All right, so if you would like, we will get to the Q&A portion. And for that, I am going to turn it over to Karina, who has been monitoring the chat for us.
Thanks. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions for Sharon, feel free to put it in the chat or into the Q&A box. But yeah, Sharon, the first question, really aside from the action that hopefully everyone just stopped and did and signed on to, folks are just wondering if there are any other ways to get involved, any other resources you want to direct folks to, especially if they're outside of Louisiana. Sharon, did you hear me?
You were saying, I thought you were speaking to the audience, to the people.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I was just, yeah, folks were wondering if there are any other additional ways to get involved or like resources, especially if, yeah, they're not in Louisiana and maybe can't do in-person work.
Oh, okay. They can help us in many ways, help get the word out, help us to get the word to President Biden, because he can declare a climate emergency just like that. And join with us in the fight, to fight Formosa and any other industry that's trying to come in. Help us to speak to some of the senators, have meetings with them. We're always trying to speak to people in DC, trying to set up meetings with them, but a lot of them are so busy. Whenever we go, we wind up meeting the staff and not the person. We're trying to get another meeting with Cory Booker whenever we go to DC. And we're trying to get some of the laws changed so people can live and these petrochemical industries can stop poisoning people. If you can help us to get the word out to where the legislature, the senators change these laws in Congress and in our states, where it will protect the people and not protect industry. Help us to form strategies to work with us, get on calls with us, and help us to get funding where we can do commercials that will go out national instead of just in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. We don't have the funding for that. We need help with that. I think if we can get the word out and people can see us in other areas, I think that would be helpful. Really helpful.
Thank you. And that kind of segues into another question that folks had. Really just, yeah, I think folks wanted to hear you speak a little bit about like what have like senators and representatives and like public officials been saying when you're in those conversations, and just, yeah, how can folks support that legislative strategy? I know you said just, yeah, like getting those conversations and those meetings. But if you could just speak a bit more about how that has gone.
Well, Cory Booker came to St. James, I think in 2017, to see what's going on here. And when I went to his office, he said that because of the visit that he had in St. James, had him to go to the legislature to try to change laws because of what he saw in St. James. So Cory Booker is working on something. And he's trying to get other senators on board with him. But I haven't spoken to him lately. And also Administrator Regan, he assured us that he's trying to help us. Like he brought down the Hans rules and these other rules, and they try to knock it down. They tried to appeal what he has done. For example, he said that he sent down the rule where Denka DuPont in St. John the Baptist Parish would have 90 days to comply. And they are appealing that, asking for 2 years. We said no, 2 years, 50 years plus 2 more years is too much to pollute people more and give people cancer. So we're asking for them to comply with the 90 days. That's going to be October 15th, and we're watching real close to see what's going to happen. If you can help us with that also. That's my neighbors. St. James are right next to St. John. In 20 minutes, I could be in St. John Parish. So we need help all the way around.
Thank you. We just got a question on what products, like does Formosa make? And are those products that folks would be able to, like, would a consumer boycott be possible? And like, is there changes that folks can make in their like personal life to like, stop supporting Formosa?
Yes. First of all, we need to stop using so much plastics. Formosa will be making the products. They won't do the finished product. They're going to start it off, but the chemicals they're going to use to make that beginning product is cancer causing. The chemical that's being used, it causes cancer. And when you're drinking water out of that plastic bottle, that plastic is made with cancer, with causing cancer chemicals. So if we can start off by banning some of these plastics, that would be the beginning. So much plastic, that'll be the beginning of this era. Because when I was little, we didn't have plastic bottles to drink out of. We had glass bottles, glasses. And when my daddy had milked the cow, we put the milk in a glass jug, not plastic. Everything is going to plastic now. That's one reason why we're killing each other. Some of the equipment in the hospitals are being used. They clean it with cancer-causing chemicals. I forgot the name of the chemical that they use to clean the instruments. So it's all around us. So we need to campaign against that. We are willing to talk with you all. If you want to talk with us and find strategies, let's get away from all of this plastic so we can live. That's the first step. And if we don't use so much plastic, Formosa won't have reason to build. And we can also do a boycott. I'm ready for it. And Reverend William Barber says he's going to come down this month to try to help us do an action. If you need me to let you all know when he comes, and we're going to plan on what we're going to do, y'all join with Rise St. James. Watch our website, see what's going on, and join with us. We also spoke to the next parish over that has an ammonia plant. It's called CF. It's 10 minutes away from my home. We pass that, we breathe those chemicals in the air. People over there are dying. They're calling on us to help them. We had a meeting in Ascension Parish, which is Donaldsonville. They wrote us a letter. In so many words, they don't want us there. They said, we don't represent Donaldsonville. We're not saying we represent Donaldsonville. We just wanted to make the people aware. We were asked to come there by members that are sick and asking us for help. They wrote us a letter and told us not to come. And we also asked 3 churches, can we come and speak at the church? They told us no. They said, Rise St. James are not welcome. But industry can go there and speak, but not us.
Wow. Yeah. And I think especially in these fights against mega corporations, but you said, just like using less plastic, we do have those personal choices and those individual choices that really are, important to that overall struggle. There was a question, and I know you mentioned a few of the corporations that y'all have defeated. There was just a question on, are most of these companies or the chemical companies and plastic companies that y'all are fighting based in the US, or are most of them foreign?
The ones that come in here, they're foreign. Formosa is foreign. Wan was foreign. Koch brothers bought our school, our high school. Now we have Koch brothers right down the street from me. And people are calling, saying they're smelling the stuff. They asked to expand. They gave the permit to expand. Our 7 parish council members, they told them they can expand. So that means they're going to release more chemicals in the air. 3,000% more chemicals will be released in the air. And people are sick and they're dying.
Thank you. And there was also a question about some of the health impacts and those links to mutations. I did drop the link to the chemical of the month, but there was kind of just a question of like, which chemicals have been popping up the most, and what are those linked? What mutations are those linked to, or just more about the health impacts?
Well, the chemical of the month, we base them on what's going on, especially down Cancer Island, especially in St. James. what these industries are emitting in the air. And we do a write-up on them. And we talk about if Formosa comes, what it was going to be emitting in the air, vinyl chloride, benzene, formaldehyde. It's a whole list that we have to educate the public on. We get phone calls sometimes from people saying they didn't know. Maybe that's what my grandmother died from because she lived right here. They are grateful that we are educating them. And people from Ascension Parish call me and tell me that they saw our commercial on TV and they thank us for letting them know because the families are dying. And they know now, since we giving them the information, they are glad because they can relate it to what happened to their family member.
Thanks. And I'm going to drop the link to the chemical of the month again. And there is a drop down for folks to be able to go and see the past ones and get that information. I think that's the end of our questions. Maybe I'll take a moment for folks if they have anything else to drop in the chat. I might have missed something, but yeah, we still have time. So please feel free to drop any questions.
We do have a question in the Q&A. And Karina, I know you're multitasking, so I don't know if you got to see that one.
I see it now. Sharon, have you ever connected or what organizing has happened with Indigenous folks and people against the tar sands in Alberta and the kind of mass production of chemicals in northern Alberta, if you have worked with those groups?
I haven't worked with those out there. We work with some people, the Indigenous people in Mexico, Corpus Christi, Texas, and we have a coalition that we get on the calls ever so often, like twice a month. It's called Premium Golf Course Coalition. And we converse about things, and we've been to different places to speak to people. We've been to Canada, me and other Indigenous people, to speak to the people over there. And we went to DC on that march that you saw on the slideshow. We have a lot of Indigenous people there also. They were holding up the casket to show President Biden that we are dying. And some of them spoke. And we went to the White House to meet with people. They were there with us. Of course, we embrace with people all over, especially people that's impacted. We all one people. God made us all. We all are suffering, and we shouldn't have to breathe dirty air or drink dirty water and give up our land and let industry come in and take it. We are not going to stand by and just let them come take our land. No, there's no way. Industry have to go. We are going to stay. They have to go.
Totally, yeah. And Elizabeth, you submitted the question. Maybe if you have any of those contacts, please feel free to share them. Totally important for us to be connected in this fight. There was another question that came in, which is, what have you learned about motivating people that you'd like to share with others organizing in their communities? What has worked when talking to your own community and folks in the area?
When I first got started, I used to go to church and people would stop me at church and tell me they didn't know all of this was going on. They saw the industry, they saw the storage tanks, but they didn't know we were being poisoned. And they would smell the bad air, and we would get water advisories ever so often. They didn't realize that this was going on until we brought it to their attention. And a lot of them thank us. They would stop me at church. The older people would stop me, and I find it funny. They've been living here longer than I have, and they're asking me questions. And I would tell it to them, and they would tell me, I might not be out there to march with you, but I'm praying for you. And I said, thank you. And a lot of people are thankful. They call us and tell us. Some of them come to our meetings. Some of the ministers come. Our new sheriff came, and he wanted to know about ITEP. St. James Parish gives the money back to industry, and we are suffering. So he wanted to learn about that so he would know how to vote whenever they try to give the money back to industry. So it's a learning experience. And one man told the public, won't y'all come to Rise St. James meeting? You could learn something. Come and listen and bring out your opinions and talk to them. They have good information. And so some of the people are on board with us. And a lot of people are disappointed in the politicians because they are not on our side. They're on the side of industry. And the ministers in Ascension Parish, just like I said, they don't want us there. The ministers don't want us in their church, but industry can go in their church and speak to the people, but not us.
Thank you. Yeah, there was another org suggestion thrown out of Coop New Orleans. And I think, yeah, folks would also be able to share that contact. Really the chat is just filled with a lot of gratitude for you, Sharon, and like this work. Again, I might have missed a question, but I don't see any more. And maybe just take another second if folks have any words they'd like to share or any additional questions. We'll just wait another second.
And if anyone would like to help us to get a commercial, if just for 1 minute, if you can help us to get that done, or help us to get a commercial for the Super Bowl or whatever, things like that we need. We need more media. We need funding for more media to help us to get the word out. And just like we said, John Legend was here. We're hoping he'd come back and do a fundraiser or something to help us to get the word out. But any little help that you can do, we will appreciate it. Before you even do it, we thank you.
Thank you. We did get another question. What do you think, or why are certain parishes or communities resistant to this fight? Like, what do you think the hangups have been in folks not, wanting to take on this battle against Formosa?
Well, I was told in the old organization that I was in, it's called HELP, Humanitarian Enterprise of Loving People. When we tried to take on Formosa, we asked them to let's fight Formosa. They said we couldn't because the governor approved it. They said it was a done deal. And they said, you don't fight industry. I said, oh no. That gave me more encouragement to want to fight. You don't tell us what we can't do in our own hometown. If the governor loved Formosa, let him build Formosa in his hometown. We are overburdened. I don't know about his hometown, but I know St. James is overburdened. The 5th district and the 4th district, we can't take anymore. So that organization, I don't think is anymore. Because when we started, we asked them to join with us to form a bigger organization. They wouldn't do it. So we formed with other organizations. We partner with other organizations. We have a lot of allies, and we are still going, and we're not going to stop. We're not here to stop. No. But I can say one thing, you don't let someone come in your hometown and tell you what you can't do or what you can have in your hometown. You don't let people come and tell you that. That's your hometown. You have the right to fight. And you're supposed to stand up for what you believe in and to protect your community and yourselves. So no, don't let them tell you that. The governor or nobody else, the politicians, the parish council members, these leaders, the representatives in St. James are not helping us. The senators are not helping us. So we had to do something to protect our homes and protect our lives because we are getting sick. I'm telling you, so many people are sick right now. So many people are having cancer and they don't want to come forward to tell us. They think it's something, it is something bad, but we need to know so we could pray for that person. And we asked them to let us know. And we tried to get them help. They are asking us for help. The ones that had medical bills. One man told me that after he finished paying his household expenses and bills, he don't have enough money to buy the medication. They are asking for help. They need transportation to go to the doctors. Something like that, small like that, they're asking for help. They're asking for things that they might need. One man is on a breathing machine. He told me the other day he can't cut grass anymore because one lung is good and the other lung is bad. So he have a portable one when he came to my house to get his hurricane supplies. He said you have to carry this everywhere you go. He's right there by New Star and Marathon, sandwiched in. He don't have the funds to pack up and leave. And no one is going to, industry is not going to give you the money to pack up and leave. No one is going to give you that. They might come in here and say and sell your property and leave you with crumbs. Then you stuck not being able to pay your house note. Some people might leave and have a house note after they leave from here. That's not helping us. It's not helping us at all. And they come in here and they build right next to the cemetery. That's against the law to build next to the cemetery. Parish council approved it, and they built. They blocked off our evacuation route. They built they put a gate with a padlock on it, so we couldn't go back there anymore when a hurricane come. So we blocked many ways. And some people can't pack up and leave when a hurricane comes. They don't have the funds. You need funds for the hotels, gas in your car. Where are you going to run? If you know it's coming and we had the funds to leave, that's a different story. So we devastated. And one of our RISE members, he had a trailer get turned over. He haven't gotten the trailer back. He's living somewhere else. He need help. It's a lot. It's a lot. We need a lot of these ministers, legislatures to come down and see what we're talking about. We want them to see for themselves. Telling them is one thing, but seeing is a whole different story. And if President Biden could come, we sure would appreciate it. I know Kamala Harris can't come right now because she's running.
Right.
But President Biden could come.
I do want to give the opportunity to somebody that's had their hand raised for a long time, and it might just be an error, but Robert, I think Sally Roberts, you've had your hand raised for quite a while. I didn't know if you had a specific question that you wanted to ask quickly before we let you guys go. No? Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing the hand raised any longer, so I will take that as a no. No worries. And we might have time for this question. Karina, I don't mean to parachute in, but do you want to ask that last question?
Yeah. And just quickly for the chat too, there was a question about donating. I did drop the link to donate to Rice St. James, Louisiana, and it'll be in the follow-up email as well. But final question, did Hurricane Ida help people make that connection between pollution and Cancer Alley and climate change? And how have, those like post-storm moments allowed folks to get into the campaign?
Some people noticed that we had more pollution from the industry. The day after Hurricane Ida, they noticed it. Some people called and said R was in the ditch in Burton Lane. So we had to go out there and see it, and it was. We called LDEQ. They came out 2 or 3 days later and said they didn't see anything. And we had the proof. I put it in my bottle, and I had it in my garage to show them. They didn't even ask for anything. But yes, a lot of people noticed that the industries were polluting even more. They wouldn't even help people rebuild their homes. They gave us tarps. What can a tarp do when your house is still raining inside your home? That's how much they think about us. They don't give one Coke gift, toilet tissue, water, and I think ice, and that was it. You drive in your car, pick it up and go, and that's it. Your house still undone. So what's that going to do? You don't have anywhere to live. They don't stop to help the people. They just make that money, bring it wherever they have to bring it, but they don't leave it in St. James. No. They are awful to us. They're not helping us at all. They need to go. To be honest with you, they need to go.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all the work that you're doing. The information that you provided today in your presentation, as well as the links that were provided in the chat, will be shared with everybody that attended this webinar. You know, we can all help no matter where we're located in the United States, and I think all of us want to help. I know that me personally and several people on this call are working against plastics, so hopefully that will help some. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for your participation today. And we appreciate your support with everything. Thank you. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, if folks are okay with it, I'll stop the recording and end the webinar.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate that. And thank you, Karina and Lee, for all your support and help.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone, for making this happen. All right. See you all later. Thank you
All right.
so
Good day.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.